What's the dumbest thing your significant other has said or done? On the phone trying to describe where we are to her parents. We are behind the car that's in front of us. I lost it. In high school, my girlfriend said, "Do you know what I just realized? There's no state that starts with the letter F. We went to school in Florida." We were driving one day and were stopped at a red light. She's looking at a sign and the following exchange occurs. Her. "What a dumb name for a street." Me. "Huh? What street?" Her. "Bone Marrow Drive? Who would name a street Bone Marrow Drive?" It was a sign for a local bone marrow drive that would be taking place. Not the name of the street. We still talk about it to this day. Nothing too dumb. I have a fan with different settings labeled LMH for how fast the fan spins. She was looking at it and told me she set the fan to large. Edit. Thank you. Tried to make baked potatoes in the microwave for the first time. Wrapped them in tinfoil. Came to ask me why there were lightning bolts in the microwave and why was it getting very hot. When my now ex-wife first started dating, I had made a roast for dinner. In my slow cooker. After dinner, she was helping me clean up. I come into the kitchen. And she had the entire crock pot submerged in the sink. I asked what she was doing. And she said she was cleaning it. She didn't know that the ceramic inside could be removed to clean. After I explained that to her, she said, "I guess I shouldn't have put the whole thing underwater." I said, "No," and reached over and unplugged it. I have no idea how she didn't get electrocuted. My wife couldn't think of the word wood. And told me to clean up my tree chunks. Ex-girlfriend now. But one time we were talking about changes in taste preferences when she said, "taste bugs." I corrected her. And she looked at me confused. She had thought that taste buds was taste bugs her entire life up until that moment. My husband and I were at Canadian Tire and they had tiny examples of tents. Basically looked like they were made for Barbie dolls, and the pricing for each underneath. He turned to me shocked and asked, "Why are these so expensive for such tiny tents?" I almost died laughing. My boyfriend thought that a sushi roll was a cross-section of a raw eel. One time my husband called me at work. "Babe, you're gonna be mad. I made a mess but don't worry, I'll fix it." I didn't even ask. Just sighed. Because he is basically Lucy from I Love Lucy. When I got home a little bit later it was to a living room covered in gray powder. My husband completely filthy with a trash bag and broom and a super panicked look on his face. Turned out he decided to help around the house and wanted to clean the fireplace. He just decided the best way to do it would be to stand in front of it with a trash bag and use the leaf blower to blow the ashes in. Spoiler, that doesn't work. I didn't want to hurt his feelings but I laughed my ass off and it's still one of my favorite weird things he's done. My eldest child was born in December 2004. This was the year that we found out that London had won the bid for the 2012 Olympics. It was announced that children born on 2012s would get free entry to the Olympics. But what if they're not any good at sports? I had to gently explain that it was free entry to watch the Olympics. One time, my wife, then girlfriend, and I were at her brother's house for a game night of Cranium. I don't remember the exact details, probably because I was in hysterics, but someone asked my wife what caused the US to enter World War II. Now, my wife is not very history savvy. Probably her least knowledgeable subject. I, on the other hand, love history. Point is, she didn't know the answer. Her guess was the Boston Tea Party. I lost my shit. And so did she and everyone else. To this day, if my wife doesn't know the answer to something, I tell her to write down Boston Tea Party. Edit. Holy cow. Loving all the stories and replies. My wife is happy to know she is not alone in her historical inaccuracies. Thank you for the silver. Kind stranger. In our language, maple and moose are almost the same word. To make it short, she thought maple syrup was made out of moose horn. Once me and my so went for a walk around a local nature reserve. On the way in we got a map given to us so we could navigate the area. Later on the walk she is looking at the map and says to me, "These maps really need a, 'you are here' on them." It took me a second to realize what she meant. So I explained that it's a handheld map and that it wouldn't be possible. It took 4/5 attempts before it clicked with her. Edit. Thank you for my first silver. We were on a walk. In a rural area with lots of farmers' fields full of sheep and cows. She looks off to a field in the distance. Turns around to me and says, "Why do they keep birds in a field?" Edit. Worded badly. They were actually birds in the field, but it was in fact an empty field with birds just hanging out, and she thought it was some kind of bird farm, haha. My boyfriend as we were looking up at the beautiful night sky. Wow. There's so much we don't know about the universe. Like where the stars go during the day. Are they still there? If not, where do they go? He was dead serious. I love my husband, but I have watched him empty a vacuum cleaner bag into a wire wastebasket. I, on the other hand, am frequently unable to remember common words and have to resort to saying things like, "the box you put stuff in to make it cold." She ate cold turkey to try and quit smoking. He picked up our friend's keys, thinking one of her keychains was a laser pointer. It was mace. He got a nice spray to the face and I was sitting right next to him. So I got a lovely dose as well. For the next 30 minutes or so the entire apartment was coughing and dying and trying to air the place out. Even our friend who was upstairs showering could feel the effects. Still love him though. Update. BF wants to clarify, he thought it was a lighter or air freshener. Not a laser. Still doesn't help as case very much lol. My fiancée was setting up for my 30th birthday at a bar. She was blowing up balloons with her mouth and taping them to the wall on the outside deck the bar had. She asked me, "Why aren't they floating up?" Edit. Fiancé. Thanks for the silver whoever you are. Kind individual. My highest comment ever. Cheers. Edit 2. The balloons. Well, one of them. Edit 3. Fucking gold. Thanks. Whoever you are. She genuinely threw Barack Obama's name was Black Obama. I'll answer for my wife. I had gone to Home Depot to pick up a trailer hitch ball for my truck. I didn't realize that they had different shaft sizes. And I didn't know which size I needed. So I called my wife and this conversation took place. Me. Are you at the house? Her. Yeah. Why? Me. Can you go out to the driveway and measure the hole in the bumper of my truck? It should be either 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch. There's a pause. Her. Isn't your truck with you? Yes. Yes it was. That was how I had gotten to Home Depot. I forgot. As we were driving along the road we saw a horse with its head over a gate. We slowed down. She opens the window and says, "Moo." A now ex, but we were trying to dirty talk and couldn't think of the word clit, so instead he said tiddlybit. I was laughing so much that we couldn't continue. For some reason, when she's done watching a video she doesn't pause it or close out of the window, she just shuts her laptop. This has twice resulted in her scandalizing a quiet lecture hall with the sound of porn resuming at full volume. And she gets off on some wacky shit. One time while dating my now wife, we got into a playful pinching fight while I was driving, probably not a great idea. But we were young. She starts getting frustrated and pinching harder. But my right arm was hooked on her left arm, like when you walk together with your arms hooked in movies. She pinched herself and thought it was me. She pinched so hard she screamed and got mad. Her next reaction was what made me almost crash. She doubled down and did it again harder and screamed even louder. Somehow she didn't realize it was her arm the way we were hooked together. Even though in that position I had no way to touch her. She was getting pissed because I was cracking up. Just remembering her anger then confusing always makes me laugh. Edit. Wow. Gold and silver thanks. My wife says it's not cool you all laughing at her. I'm glad everyone enjoyed the story though. Now ex-girlfriend from high school. Her power had gone out in the neighboring town. She called crying saying she had so much homework to complete. I said to drive to my house since I still had power. She yelled at me saying, "How dare you attempt to get me to drive? How do you expect me to do that? My headlights won't work." It didn't last much longer after that. As I'm in labor with our daughter. My husband asks, "Do you want her to have an innie or an outie belly button?" Weird question. But whatever. So I tell him I don't mind either way. Both are cute. And then he says yeah. But when the doctor asks, "Which should we pick for her?" He thought when they clamp the umbilical cord. Parents tell the doctor the type of belly button they prefer. He's really smart. I promise. Threw her engagement ring out the kitchen window during an argument. She still hasn't found it yet. My favorite memory of my parents is going to some fast food joint. Through the drive-thru. Mom is driving and giving our orders to the cashier. Just as she finishes, my dad casually says to go my mom. And she turns back to the cashier and says to go. 2 seconds of buffering later and she slaps my dad full on in the chest. Who is laughing fucking hysterically. Don't think we've ever let her live that down. Edit. Holy shit. Thanks for the silver, y'all. The hardest part of writing a check is you have to write in cursive. Edit. My highest rated comment, and I can't tell my wife. Thanks for the gold. I do. Edit. First gold and first silver. Thank you, kind Redditors. I never expected a silly but true comment hammered out at 5 a.m. to lead to this. I had to explain to him that mint is a plant. I've also had to remind him that driver's licenses are in fact tied to your country. My now ex-girlfriend got a Polaroid camera for Christmas. Jokingly one day I said, "Does it take videos?" And she very seriously said, "I'm sure it does, but I haven't tried that feature yet." My husband called me one day with a wild story. He said he sharted and wanted to see if there was poop on his ass, so he stood on the toilet and spread his ass cheeks while looking in the mirror to see the damage. Then, from him standing on the toilet seat, he broke it. He fell to the floor and said he saw pubes and started puking. After all that, I asked him why he didn't just wipe his ass like a normal person, but he insisted he had to look at his butthole. What do you put in carrot cake to make it carrot flavored? Is it carrot zest? I've never let him live it down. We were sitting in a bus in the middle of heavy rush hour traffic. I'm kind of a car geek. So I spotted a mint condition 1970s classic Mustang. I just went and said, "Look honey. A car." There were hundreds of them. ... I don't think she'll let me live this down. I showed her how to crack an egg by tapping it against another egg, and she thought this meant any amount of force would be absorbed by only one egg, and smashed 2 eggs together, spraying yolk everywhere. My husband called work one day and my daughter took the call. She came and said, "Daddy made chili and cornbread for dinner." I replied, "But we don't have any cornmeal." Sitting down for dinner, he proudly served the cornbread. Taste it. It was crunchy with hard little bits in it. He had put popcorn in the coffee grinder. His recipe was Bisquick and ground popcorn. He is infamous for his recipe substitutions. Wife was getting in the car to take me to work. Started shouting at me to hurry up, then it dawned on her she had got in the passenger side by mistake. My deeply intelligent wife lost her car. Like left it in a parking lot and somehow got home on Friday. Monday morning I get a text. "Where's my car? She's gonna finish her medical degree next year." My girlfriend in college attended my graduation and afterward says to me, "Man, there were a lot of people with the name Lottie. Each time someone was given their degree, it was announced whether they were graduating cum laude or not." My girlfriend thought America's largest family graduated from university with me that day, the Lottie family, and they all looked unrelated. Oh geez, so many. In one college relationship we had this running gag where we'd try to make the other cringe. So we said a lot of weird shit. He was the same age and major as my brother. So we would joke about me having a brother complex. It started with me saying, "Oh baby, you kiss just like my brother." But one time, he said, "Oh man, babe, you suck dick just like your brother." Fuck yeah, mid-blowjob, and I lost it. We were going through a Taco Bell drive-thru. At this drive-thru, you ordered at the talking menu, pay at the window, and you wait at that window for your food. Their drive-thru wraps around the building. We order. We go to the window. We pay. My boyfriend says, "Where do we get our food?" I tell him we just wait. He goes, "Should I go around the corner?" I tell him, "If we go around the corner we're gonna be at the front of the building. Don't pull around. Just sit here and wait." He pulls around, and was surprised that he found the front of the building. As if someone wasn't right next to him telling him exactly that. So now we've created a mild chaos within this Taco Bell. We threw off their groove. My boyfriend parks and runs inside and explains what happens. Taco Bell man asks his manager what to do. And my boyfriend says, "I'll just go back to the drive-thru," while they're talking and obviously not listening. So to them, he just disappears. We go back in the drive-thru. We pull up to the window. And the drive-thru lady goes, "Was your order the, oh, it's you." And the manager storms over. And she goes, "Y'all had me looking for you. I went outside looking for you. I was looking for you everywhere. I got my eyes on you," and does the "I'm watching you" thing with her fingers and eyes. hands the drive-through lady our bag, and storms off. I'm cracking up. My boyfriend has his head hung in shame. And that day was the day we learned about listening skills. That was about 4 years ago. Still remember like it was yesterday. Edit. Holy shit, I got gold. Thank you, Rachel 226, you're a rock star and I love your face. Edit 2. I've omitted a phrase in the last paragraph. And sincerely apologize to anyone I've offended. I meant no harm in the phrase and it wasn't my intention to perpetuate any harmful tropes. But I've been educated and will do better in the future. I should have known better when writing this comment. And I have no excuses. But I will be more mindful from now on. And LT. 3. When my wife and I started dating in the mid-1980s, she knew I was a huge fan of David Letterman. She said she had a huge surprise for me as she had tickets to see Letterman at a local venue. I was confused since David Letterman did not tour. I looked at the tickets she purchased and they were for the old 60s band The Letterman. We didn't go. But I married her. 30 years this September. We bought a new car. She asked me if I changed the settings to Spanish because it said, ajar, on the dash when the door was open. Are you about to start your period? As I was crying over a friend who had passed away and was on my mind that day. Don't worry folks. He's still alive. He is super grossed out my periods. When I asked him what he would do if we had a daughter, he replied, I just won't change her diaper that time of the month. I asked him to plant a baby tree in the back garden. The next day I saw it and thought it looked strange. Walked up and it had been planted upside down. He thought the roots were tiny limp branches. Laughed for days. I'm really flexible. So I don't bruise easily, is her most recent gem. My sister-in-law, who works at a primary school as an assistant teacher, once told my brother that she didn't know how to pronounce a word when she was doing a spelling test, so she spelled it out. Late to the party, but my parents have an extremely ugly little dog. Like, this thing is unfortunate. A cross between a chihuahua and some sort of lesser demon. Buggy eyes. Underbite. Just ugly. And she picks on my dogs. So she's not my favorite. But this little creature adores my husband. One day, he came into my parents' house from work. I was already there, and ugly dog runs up to him like she just won the lottery. He scoops her up, laughing, and completely without thinking. He said, TikTok maven. Why is it that only the ugly girls like me? There was dead silence. And his expression blanched in slow motion. It was like someone looking down and realizing they had shit all over the floor. I said nothing. Just got up and walked outside. The sounds of his pitiful groveling following me. Not you. I didn't mean you. Oh my god. I am so sorry. I didn't. I know he meant nothing by it. But to this day my entire family gives him shit for it. He definitely paid for the faux pas. Lol. Yesterday I asked my fiancé if he would still like me if I gained weight after having my thyroid removed for cancer. I have a suspicious growth. My fiancé responded, that question has a lot of assumptions. The biggest of which is that I'd even stay with you. It was very obviously a light-hearted joke, of the kind we both enjoy. But I'm pretty delicate lately and started sobbing. He felt real dumb. My husband doesn't think his way through stuff sometimes and also doesn't listen to instruction very well. So one time he's trying to tear down part of our pole barn that had a tree fall on it while I sat on the porch steps thinking I should make a video of this entitled, All the Things You Should Not Do While Demolishing a Building. Because he's out there trying to knock one of the supports out while standing under the barn roof. Finally the support comes free and what do you know? Part of the roof falls on him. He was absolutely unhurt. I ambled up to him and was like, I don't want to say I told you so, but. My girlfriend from senior year in high school said that she was going to pick up some birth control from Planet Parenthood. I said, don't you mean Planned Parenthood? Good thing I didn't get her Purgante. I took my boyfriend out for his first pho. There was a huge slice of jalapeno that he ate all in one bite. His pizza-based taste buds were not accustomed and he wept over his bowl for a good while. He thought the jalapeno was a cucumber. I have not let him forget it. Got messed up and stole his friend's car because he was tired of waiting for his friend to come out of the store. Woke up to it parked on our front lawn. No one was hurt and it was 15 years ago and they still laugh about it to this day. When I was 19 my girlfriend and I, along with another friend of ours, Took a road trip up to Toronto to visit a friend of ours who lived there during the summer. It was my first time leaving the United States since I came here when I was 3 years old. So I was excited. We were there to see our friend, but we had also heard that in Toronto they have these novelty ID shops where you could get a fake ID from a U.S. state. She was starting college in a few months. And I would joining her the next semester. So we wanted to have fake IDs to be able to buy booze ourselves. We went into the city one day and found one of these shops. It was pretty crazy. They had a whole book of sample IDs featuring every state and also some other random novelty IDs. We heard from someone that Michigan was the one that looked the realest. So we made ours from there. We paid them $60 and they gave us a form where we basically filled in all the info except an address. They took a picture for the ID and then handed me a Michigan State hoodie. Part of the $60 included a second form of ID. In this case a college ID. And by wearing the hoodie it gave the illusion that the pictures were taken on different days. It was all a pretty easy process and from what I understood legal there since they are supposed to be novelties. We get in the car and are about to drive back to our friend's house. I asked my girlfriend to see her ID because I wanted to see if her address was the same as mine or if they used random ones. As I'm looking at her ID I noticed that the year on hers is wrong. I told her, "Babe, you got the year wrong. This says you're 20, not 21. She laughed and said, "No it doesn't," and grabbed the ID from me. She stared at the ID for a few seconds and then her smile turned into a scowl. She didn't say another word for the rest of the ride back and I was trying so hard to hold back my laughter. Because she screwed up the birthday her ID was basically useless until her birthday next year. I never found out if she ever even got a chance to use it because we broke up a few months after she started because she cheated on me. So this story is especially hilarious to me. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.